Another beautiful day in paradise, everyone. It really is another fantastic sunny day here, and I'm getting plenty of vitamin D. Anybody wants to know more about getting out of where you are and getting to where you want to be, which in my eyes and with everything that I've learned and known over many years now, where we are is probably the safest bet. If it wasn't, I wouldn't be here. So there we go. Anyway, walk and talk today. I wanted to address the situation where we're seeing Bud Light, we're seeing Ford Motor Company, Jack Daniels, Victoria's Secret. The list is endless, and every day we see another major corporation which has decided to put itself into the woke movement and promote themselves as being diversified enough to bring this into their products and their main core of advertising. And a lot of people are saying, oh, well, I'm not going to buy this product, I'm not going to buy that product. Same way as all the fucking idiots that said that they weren't going to buy Russian vodka when the Ukraine war kicked off. But there we go. Anyway, we got into, just by chance, a conversation with my son. One of the water trucks which deliver locally drove by, and he said, look, he says Coca-Cola own that water company. So I explained to him that, you know, Pepsi also own the water companies, and Nestle own massive bodies of water that they sell as well. And you know, you only have to go into the grocery store and pick up a bottle of water and you'll see one of the major companies, or, you know, chemical companies. I know that the likes of Unilever, they get their hands into the food. This is all by design. This is all an interconnected thing. And the whole reason we are seeing all these companies now go into a woke agenda is because they are controlled by the few. Now, what many people don't realise is when... Hello there, how are you? Oh yes, you got lots to say, I know. What people don't realise is when people buy shares of a company, it's not only a good investment with certain companies, but it is a way to have a voice within that company. And what has happened, the system is rigged. It's rigged to a point now where we are seeing the majority shareholders of every corporation, major corporation. I'm talking everything from Budweiser to Ford Motor Company to Disneyland to Boeing, pharmaceutical industries. It's literally everything that touches your life filters back right the way down to two companies. The companies are BlackRock and the other company is Vanguard. And what you're going to find is these are the majority shareholders of all these major corporations, which means they have the majority say through the boards of directors that run these corporations. So why people now are thinking that this is all coming together, and oh, why would Ford start advertising the transgender LGBTQ plus 50 Shades of Gay thing, or, you know, why would Budweiser? Well, it's not that they think it's a good idea. Maybe they think it's a bad idea, but unfortunately when the majority shareholders of the company want to go down this kind of path to push their agenda forward, then it happens. Because money talks and bullshit walks, and we know this. Well, I suppose I'm walking right now, maybe we should question that. But anyway, at the end of the day, when we consider we have two major corporations of BlackRock and Vanguard owning pretty much everything around the world in means of major corporations, we then have to ask the big question is, who are the majority shareholders of BlackRock and Vanguard? And what most people are going to find is the people that create money out of thin air and can buy all these stocks and shares just by pressing a button, creating the money themselves and dumping it back into the industry to be able to buy up all these seats at the table, so to speak, are the one and only central banks, of which looks over your country, my country, and pretty much every major country that they haven't invaded by war, and control the banking systems of that country. They don't just control the banking system. The central banks, which are a privately owned syndicate, mainly owned by the Rothschild family, are able to loan money to kings and queens. They are able to loan money to governments. So let's just say the debt ceiling right now in the US has been granted a further $4 trillion in raising to be able to handle the debts and the money that needs to pay out through the US. This money doesn't immediately come out of the taxpayer's pocket. No. What happens is the central banking system loans this money that they print out of thin air to the governments around the world. And the government turns around and the assurances of paying this back plus interest is saddled on the weight of the shoulders of the citizens in these countries by a tax that you pay. So what the government does is they have these treasury bonds issued, basically an IOU note to say the public, the people that reside in this country are going to pay you back with interest the money that you created out of thin air. And not only that, the money that you use to build up all these corporations and buy them out through BlackRock and Vanguard. So you are the majority shareholders of these companies, and you have the majority say in what happens. So this all filters back just to a small handful of people who over centuries have plied this trade and craft of creating money out of nothing and loaning it to governments and kings and queens around the world to make sure you are enslaved to the debt that is created. There has to be a better way. Countries should and could issue their own money. John F. Kennedy, strangely enough, had already had the notes printed out called greenbacks, and he was going to bring that in and remove the central banking system, the Federal Reserve, from the United States, so that the sovereign people of that country could live a far better life and the country could prosper even more. We all know what happened to him, and this is how much power they have. They create wars in countries that don't have central banks, and by the time they instill their people that work for them as prime ministers, presidents and whatever within these countries, very shortly after there will be enacted the ability for a central bank to oversee that country. And when you look back at many of the wars and invasions that we've seen over the past 20-30 years, go and look and tell me if that country had a central bank prior to that invasion. And that's all you need to know, because the war is funded, the invasion is funded, and the takeover is funded through the same people time and time again. So when you're wondering why we're seeing what's going on and why corporations seem to be doing this absolute crazy woke shit, just think about who has the control at the top of this pyramid and how they're able to do it. And what you're going to find is the resolve, the way that we can change this, is if enough people around the world understand what's going on and remove the minority that seek to control and enslave us. And it's down to you, and you only, to make that change. When people can stop fighting with each other about race, religion, the woke stuff, and realise that they're being played by the very hand that does enslave us, then we can all come together. And when we all come together, we can change this world for the better. And when we change the world for the better, that means we get rid of the tyrants, and we get rid of the small percentage at the top that controls absolutely everything through the creation of money. Take care, everyone. I'll speak to you soon. Thank you.